I don't get to this until late in the book after explaining myself thoroughly, but this is a true thing, and you will find it if you look deeply enough. Anxiety always lies. Always. It always, always, always lies. Fear doesn't lie. Fear will say, oh, the house is on fire, get out, or whatever. But anxiety lies in bed at night for decades going, the house may catch fire at any moment, and now I'm not sleeping, and now I have stress-induced illnesses, and I'm forgetting to connect with my friends. And so anxiety will always tell you, oh, you won't be yourself without me. But the opposite of anxiety's messages is usually the truth. So try on the idea you will be yourself without anxiety. Any anxious thought you've had, I've probably had it. I had one really, really intense bout of anxiety, and it lasted, I think, from birth until I was 60.
Is that all? Yeah.
And then I wrote this book, and I was like, oh my gosh, it worked. I'm not anxious. Now I'm 62, and I'm not anxious. I'm only anxious in little fleeting wisps, and I used to be really dominated by it. And I was looking at the brain patterns in anxiety, and I suddenly realized they're the opposite of the systems involved in creativity. And then I remembered all this research saying that when you get even the slightest bit anxious, your creativity dies. It just flatlines. And I thought, what if the opposite is true? What if when you start to rev up your creativity, your anxiety flatlines? So I remember it was so convincing because I knew enough about the brain that I was looking at it and saying, these are mirror images, they're opposites. And I started trying to just go to a creative place, and sure enough, my anxiety would just tank. It just was nowhere to be found.
Hey friend, I just wanted to thank you so much for stopping by and tuning into the podcast. It means the world to me. There are a lot of great podcasts out there, so it's truly an honor that you've decided to take the time out of your day to listen to mine. I'm really excited to bring on more and more inspirational guests for you. But before we get into it, I wanted to ask you a huge favor. If you're enjoying the show, would you please be so kind as to hit that subscribe button? I've noticed that over 98% of the people that watch our videos aren't subscribed, and subscribing really helps the algorithm put this episode in front of other people who it could help. And be sure to leave a comment sharing what most connects with you. So much love. Martha Beck.
Hello.
Beyond anxiety, you've done it again. Congratulations.
Thank you, sweetie. I am so happy to be here, and so glad that got written.
Oh my. I can tell reading it how much went into this for you. And you probably don't remember, but when you were last on the Let It Be Easy podcast, you mentioned that you were working on a book about anxiety. And I was like, I can't wait.
Well, that was true for about 5 years. And there is a tremendous amount of research that went into the book. But actually, I had a blast writing it.
Oh, well, I wanted to ask you first, Martha, because I've seen your whirlwind. You've been everywhere. You've been in the UK. I saw you in the Today Show. I love it all. How are you? And the long answer is okay if there is one. Like, how are you? How are you right now?
Right now, I'm thrilled because I'm here with you, and that makes it so much fun, and because it keeps me really present. Like when we're doing this and we know we've hit record, and I would encourage everyone out there to do a live podcast with a friend and just hit record, because it means, I better actually show up right now. And the moment we actually show up in any present moment, we feel much, much better than we would if our minds were wandering around thinking about what else we have to do and all that. So just because of this circumstance, this red hot second, this is fabulous. I mean, look at you. You're wonderful. I've loved coming on before. I love being here now. Oh, yeah. Doesn't get better.
I mean, that's how I feel. Like, truly, what a gift to have you here and to talk about this topic. And I love how you start the book. You speak about your own anxiety, even from a very young age. You speak about the monk who you see who had a complete transformation that gave you hope. And anxiety, Martha, I mean, it's such a big topic and a scary one, I think, for a lot of people. Yeah. What made you want to tackle it? What made this the next step for you?
Well, I had written a book called The Way of Integrity, which basically postulates that if you're totally aligned with what is truest for you at the deepest level, and if your words and your actions reflect that, what really matters to you, you're going to be happy. And that's actually the only way you can be completely happy. So a lot of amazing people read this book, and they bought into the premise, and they did it, and they came back to me and they said, I am in total integrity, but I'm afraid all the time. And I was like, because for me, over years of meditation, I'd sat with my own anxieties and fears, and I had seen that they were usually made of nothing. It's like Mark Twain said, I'm an old man and I have seen many troubles, but most of them never happened. So I was like, why is everyone so scared? And then I realized that anxiety was skyrocketing worldwide. It went up a full 25% during the pandemic year, but instead of coming down when we sort of relaxed, it just kept going up. So all these people around me, these wonderful people, were freaking out. And I thought, why? And I found my answers in brain science and sociology, my favorite places. I'm the most exciting person ever.
Yes.
Nerd.
And what's so interesting to me is, in this book, you speak about your research. There are so many case studies, examples. You speak about your own experiment a whole month when all you did was creative work. I mean, reading this, it's just like, whoa. I mean, how much you can get from a book. I'm like,
oh. What I did? I was traveling so much, and I'd given myself a long period of time to do the writing, like a year. And the year kept getting eaten up in travel. I went to Australia. I went to South Africa. And then I realized I had like 60 days before it was due, and I was nowhere near finished. So I bought 60 bottles of iced tea, my favorite kind of iced tea, one for each morning. And I ensconced myself in my room, and my wonderful family said, okay, our income depends on this, so you go. And I would get up at 5 or 6 every morning and write until noon or 2 in the afternoon-ish, and just drink my bottle of tea and go, and one bottle of tea at a time, I got it all written through. Why did I tell that story?
Wow.
Because I was fascinated by myself.
Well, I can say The Way of Integrity is one of my all-time favorite books. I was so excited. I know this isn't a follow-up, but there is a through line, and specifically how anxiety is quelled or calmed when we are in purpose. And that comes towards the end of the book a bit more. But one thing that really stood out that I think a lot of people can relate to in this book is how we don't live natural lives, right? You give the example of this high flying client of yours who's like really impressive on the outside. And again, I got this from The Way of Integrity, right? Like what culture says. And then I love this expression, looking great, but feeling weird. No. Well, oh my gosh, what is it? Looking good by feeling good by looking weird.
By looking weird. Yeah, that's it.
I was just, it's mind boggling, isn't it? Because we're like, well, this is how it has to be. Like we have a JOB.
The opposite of feeling good by looking weird is what most of us live, which is looking normal by feeling horrible. That's how most of us live. And so I looked, as I said, I truly found the answer to the anxiety epidemic, and it is an epidemic worldwide, in neuroscience and sociology. So the coming from the societal part first, I was taught, I gave this example of this lawyer who's super duper successful. Her whole family was so proud of her, and she was this high flying lawyer in Manhattan, and she was coming unglued and incredibly high anxiety levels. So she'd gone to all these therapists and things, and then she came to me. And my first observation was, of course you're miserable. Your life is so abnormal. And she was like, what? Like she lived in a gorgeous apartment in Manhattan. She had designer clothes. She was super fit. She was super gorgeous. She was rich. And I said, no, you're living in a horribly abnormal life. Because we evolved to wake up in the morning surrounded by small groups of people we knew well, hearing the wind in the trees, the birds, each other's voices, maybe the flow of water or the ocean somewhere. These are the stimuli that our nervous systems evolved in. So when you don't wake up and hear those things, when instead you hear traffic noise or you hear news blaring or your alarm clock going, "Meh, meh, meh," or your phone, whatever most people use. But these are not natural sounds. And then you get up and you get into one man who was a wilderness expert. Liz Gilbert wrote about him in the book, The Last American Man. He lived outside and he said, you live in box world. You get up in a box, you get into a box on wheels, you drive the box to a different box, then you sit in a box and stare at a box. And then you get back in your box and go home to your box and turn on a box and stare at the box until you go to sleep on your box. He said, there are no boxes in nature. There are circles, the circle of the horizon, the circle of my campfire, the circle of the seasons. We're meant to live in these rounded lives. And do you know, if you just go out into the trees after being in a city, your pheromones co-evolved with plants. So going into the forest triples your cancer-killing cells within hours. And that effect remains. But the opposite of it is if you're never around the trees, if you're never around animals, if you have to leave your family and loved ones for long periods every single day to go sit in a box next to a stranger who's sitting on a box, the nervous system didn't evolve to handle that. And we get steadily more miserable, and we know in our hearts that this is bad for us, and that's scary. So without our knowing why cognitively, our whole neurological system is going, this is bad, this is wrong, this has to change. And that agitation is what we feel as anxiety, and we don't understand what it's trying to tell us.
And so we're normal. This is soothing. I mean, already this is helpful to know that the way I'm feeling is it's to be expected. And we're not alone in experiencing this.
Yeah. And then, sorry, I got to throw my neuroscience in there. Not that I'm a neuroscientist, but I read a lot of it. There are two things in our brains that make us hang on to anxiety in a way that no other animal can. So anxiety is not fear. Fear is a healthy defense mechanism that is designed to get you out of physically dangerous situations. So a bear comes at you, you fight, run, or hide, the bear goes away, your nervous system settles. I've watched lots of predators chase prey in Africa, where I love to go, South Africa. And also when I lived in the forest in California, I watched animals hunt. And the prey animals who were running away would obviously be very upset. But if they knew the predator had been foiled, if they gave up, the bobcat or the lion gives up and walks away, the squirrel or the impala goes, whoo, and relaxes. That's how fear is supposed to work. But in the human brain, what happens is we see something unfamiliar. If it's unfamiliar, we are much more likely to think of it as bad than to think of it as good. And the reason is something called the negativity bias. We are predisposed to thinking of things as dangerous. So I like to refer to this as the 15 puppies and a cobra syndrome. If you're in a room with 15 puppies and a cobra, you need to pay attention to the cobra first. And that's just a survival mechanism. So that spins us into anxiety anytime something unusual is cited. And then we have this ability to turn things into language and then to maintain a story about the scary thing that persists after the scary thing is gone. So we lie in bed at night terrified about how to pay our taxes or what will happen when we die or whatever. And we just, instead of having a strong impetus to act that then moves us into a safer place, what we have is this ongoing cycle of anxiety and fear that grows on itself. And it's called the anxiety spiral or the anxiety cycle. A lot of different brain scientists call it different things. And it locks us in and we're afraid to leave it because one of the things it tells us is you've got to pay attention to me. There's a cobra here and only I can save you. So keep your attention fixed on every dangerous thing in the world. So when you came, when we were recording this, we're in February of 2025, and things are going down globally that make people nervous and make me nervous. Except that I know how to get out of the anxiety spiral so that I can observe what's happening from a place of calm, because I'm not in physical danger myself. And whatever I do to work with the difficult situations of the world, I'm going to do it better from a place of peace. I've never made a wise decision in panic.
And I know this, and in the book you speak about the creativity spiral and curiosity and so many as the alternatives. And I mean, oh my gosh, Martha, there's so much. Kiss, I mean, calm. Oh gosh, I could talk about this forever with you. You know, one question that comes to mind for me is a couple of years ago, I have this friend who's anxious. She has, I suppose, what would be called OCD. She's always checking things. She's nervous. And I said to her, you know, I'm working with this hypnotherapist. She's really good. She was helping me with like sleeping better.
Oh, cool.
And then my friend who's self-aware, she said, you know, I don't know who I'd be without my anxiety. Like, do you come across that too? Are you like, we like
all the time,
the familiarity of it.
All the time. I mean, once I got to be in a group of people with who are working with the spiritual teacher Byron Katie, who is not afraid of anything. She's had people come up and put a gun in her ribs and say, I'm going to kill you. And she just looks at them and goes, wow, I hope you don't do that to yourself, because it would really be hard for you if you did that to me. So nobody's ever pulled the trigger. Anyway, so I was in this mansion in Beverly Hills. I mean, I think it occupied an entire Beverly Hill. It was just vast property. And all these movie stars had gathered to do this stuff with Byron Katie, where you get out of your negative stories and you stop being anxious because you're present where you are instead of spinning out stories of things that may never happen. And there was a comedian or a comedic actor there. And we started doing the work where people would talk about how they were upset by a certain thing in the world. And Katie would work with their thoughts to let go of the anxiety so that they could become present, which is always, when you get there, a lovely place to be. And I say that I've done it during dental surgery. I mean, there is evil in the world. I'm not going to say there isn't, but the present moment is a really good place to be. Anyway, people started cracking their anxieties. We were at the home of this very famous TV producer called Norman Lear. He ran all these different sitcoms forever. He passed away at the age of 103. And at the time he was 99. And we were in a room that was lined on all the walls with bookshelves. And every bookshelf was crammed with scripts, bound scripts. So books of things that this man, Norman Lear, had created that had changed the world a million times over. And he was the first one. And his fear, his anxiety was, I'm just not getting enough done. I was just like, oh, you can own an entire Beverly Hill and still think that. Anyway, this one actor, whom I will not name, got up and he said, this is bullshit. I can't lose my anxiety. I wouldn't be funny without my anxiety. And he stomped out of the room. And I looked at him going, I thought, dude, you're not very funny with your anxiety. But I actually think he'd be much funnier without it. But this is a very long answer to the question you asked. Do people say I wouldn't be myself without my anxiety? It's a common belief, but just remember, I don't get to this until late in the book after explaining myself thoroughly, but this is a true thing, and you will find it if you look deeply enough. Anxiety always lies. Always. It always, always, always lies. Fear doesn't lie. Fear will say, oh, the house is on fire, get out, or whatever. But anxiety lies in bed at night for decades going, the house may catch fire at any moment. And now I'm not sleeping. And now I have stress-induced illnesses and I'm forgetting to connect with my friends. And so anxiety will always tell you, oh, you won't be yourself without me. But the opposite of anxiety's messages is usually the truth. So try on the idea you will be yourself without anxiety. You won't be yourself with anxiety. you'll just be this boring repetition of anxious thoughts about things that will probably never happen.
Like Mark Twain said.
Exactly. Most of them never happen. Will Rogers said a similar thing. He said, I know worrying works because nothing I worry about ever happens.
It's funny, Martha. I used to think that too. I think unless I have this undercurrent of anxiety, I'm going to get too chilled out.
Mm-hmm.
And the world will just combust. Like what will I also heard a woman say once, oh, I have to always be anxious about what I eat or I'll get fat.
Right.
And
right.
I'm like, interesting. So why would we let go of that really self-serving, awesome thing that gets us what we want, so to speak, if that's what we're believing about it?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
If we're believing that works, I've tried all those things. Any anxious thought you've had, I've probably had it. I had one really, really intense bout of anxiety, and it lasted, I think, from birth until I was 60.
Is that all? Yeah.
And then I wrote this book and I was like, oh my gosh, it worked. I'm not anxious. Now I'm 62 and I'm not anxious. I'm only anxious in little fleeting wisps. And I used to be really dominated by it. But I didn't realize that my problem in approaching it was that I was always trying to calm it down. Well, two things. One thing is we fight our anxiety. I wasn't much of a fighter, but I was a soother. You got to soothe it, which is, it works a lot better. But people who say I'm going to fight my anxiety, they're like, I hate it. I want it gone, because they think of it as a broken machine in their heads. Actually, what it is a frightened little animal in the head. It's actually, in neurological terms, it's using very ancient brain structures that are there in animals. And if you say to an animal, I hate you, I want to end you, I'm going to fight you as hard as I can until you're gone, it doesn't calm people down.
No? I know. You say on page 37, anxious human beings aren't broken mechanisms, we're frightened creatures.
Yeah, we are frightened creatures. So when you're using anxiety to try to drive you, and you're fighting anxiety at the same time because it has miserable side effects, you're just a mess of self-inflicted conflict. It's just really, really painful. So I'd been trying to get to zero anxiety. What I didn't realize until I did the research for this was that there is a mirror opposite of anxiety in the brain. And it toggles. That is, when one is on, the other is off. So a few years before I started doing this research on anxiety, by the way, it made me so anxious to research anxiety, because even reading the word anxiety over and over escalates it. So, and I was also being super analytical, which tends to escalate it too. So I had done research on the brain mechanisms involved in creativity, because I did this course on creativity. And I had learned how it all works and where the brain gets its information, what it does with it. And I was looking at the brain patterns in anxiety, and I suddenly realized they're the opposite of the systems involved in creativity. And then I remembered all this research saying that when you get even the slightest bit anxious, your creativity dies. It just flatlines. And I thought, what if the opposite is true? What if when you start to rev up your creativity, your anxiety flatlines? So I remember it was so convincing, because I knew enough about the brain that I was looking at it and saying, these are mirror images, they're opposites. And I started trying to just go to a creative place, and sure enough, my anxiety would just tank. It just was nowhere to be found. And I started practicing this with people online. It was during the pandemic, right? So you're right. I did a whole month of just creativity, and my anxiety went away completely after 60 years. And then I would get online and I'd say to people, let's do some creativity exercises. First, tell me on a scale from 1 to 10 how anxious you are. Why don't we do it now so that people can hear this and it's not
yes. Okay. I love it. And you, by the way, the book is so practical. I've written it. When you've left lines to fill things in, Martha, they are full. I tell you.
Thank you.
This is good.
You're wonderful. All right. So think of something that makes you slightly anxious. Let's not work on world politics just yet. Let's talk about something that doesn't freak our listeners out completely. So everybody out there listening to this, play along. Think of something that makes you a bit anxious. So what is it for you?
I would say the only anxiety I have, Martha, is like something happening to my husband. I know that sounds dramatic. That might be a bit.
No, so many people have that.
I just love him so much. And I'm like, what if something happens and he dies and I'm on my own? And like, it'd be the most tragic, awful thing ever. And then if he's late, I'm worried. And I actually track his phone.
I am not surprised. That is, I mean, I have done similar things with my loved ones because one of the primordial fears that we all have is death, but even more the loss of loved ones, because we are social primates and we need each other to survive. So you should be very, very kind to the part of you that's worried about this. So the very first thing that happened is you started criticizing your own anxious self, right? It's just a scared little animal. How would you, like, if you were to choose a little animal to represent your anxiety, what does it feel like?
Like a shaking.
Like a bunny, like a puppy, like a duckling?
Yeah, I have a little dog, so I think of her, and she's tiny. I just imagine like shaking and unsure and looking around and needing
so there's a little
support.
dog and she's afraid of losing something she loves. Do you just like slap her around and say, get over it?
Can you imagine? No.
Or take enough medication to be catatonic. I'm all for anti-anxiety medication. I think it's great. Please use it. But the fact is the brain tends to work around it and go back to anxiety even when we do take those meds. So your little puppy is going to be a bit scared. Okay, now let's do something that requires you to use more of the creativity related parts of the brain, the right hemisphere mainly. So first, think of something you love to taste.
Smoothies that I make in the morning.
Like a green smoothie or a
bananas, strawberries, mangoes. Yeah, fruit smoothies.
Fantastic. A fruit smoothie. Okay. Think of something that isn't food that you love to smell.
My perfume collection. I love them all.
Think of something you love to see.
My water view.
Okay. You have all these things. It's so great. Think of something you love to hear.
Anything Sabrina Carpenter right now.
Okay. And what do you love to touch with your skin?
I just bought a very luxurious, lovely blanket that I could just wear it. It's divine.
Cool. So I actually have a blanket that is a onesie, like a little kid's onesie that I put on every day. It's fantastic. Anyway, usually I would have people think of 2 or 3 things that they love with each of the senses, but we'll just use the one thing for simplicity here. So imagine very vividly right now that you have this astonishing blanket wrapped around you and you're looking out at your view and you're drinking your smoothie, your doggy's on your lap. Did I ask you what you love to hear? Oh, right. The music that you love is on. And like go into that moment. Like imagine it so vividly that it's almost as if you're sensing all those things at the same moment right now. And then check how your anxiety is when you're deeply in that moment. You don't look stressed, I have to say.
This moment is nice.
Yeah, isn't it wonderful? And here's the thing. People will say, yeah, but I just dreamed that up and I don't want to focus on that because it's not true. And I'll say, well, you had been walking around with a story that says my husband is about to be horribly lost to me and something bad's going to happen to my husband. And that was also fictional. But when we vividly imagine things in the brain, it reads to the more primitive parts of the brain that that's actually what's happening. So when you're worried, oh my God, what if something happened to him? It literally in your brain becomes a felt scenario of something bad happening to him. It becomes a truth for you. But if you switch to something as simple as sensing what you love, and really allow yourself to bring those images up vividly. And always use, by the way, if you're doing this, folks, always use your senses instead of your thoughts. So get into a sensory memory because that is a creative act where a thought memory or a thought construction, like what will happen if the market goes south, on Wednesday? What will happen to pork belly futures or whatever? That won't calm you down. But bringing your senses into the full circle of your attention makes it impossible for you to bring anxiety in with it. The brain just won't do it. And the way to hold that, so you don't just, I do actually sit and meditate on things that are beautiful for hours at a time. But if you want to just anchor your brain into that, make something. Get to that happy place. And instead of what should I do? What can I do? Think, what should I make? What can I make? So I don't know what you like to make. What do you like to make, Susie?
Well, luckily, I love my work so much. I feel like it's joy and pleasure. I can't believe I get paid so well to do it.
Right?
I love it. I love all the content I create. I love making things in the kitchen. I like writing handwritten letters too.
Oh my goodness. Can't you just feel everybody? I mean, as you talk about it, I literally feel a lifting sensation in my chest, in my whole body, actually. And when you are in a non-anxious space, you feel that very vividly. One of the reasons I wrote this, and then I looked into the brain hemisphere issues so closely, was that I have a friend named Jill Bolte Taylor. I don't know if she's ever been on the show.
I absolutely love her story, and especially the whale. Is it a whale analogy?
Not so much I guess it is an analogy.
She said that she felt like she was going through the ocean, like in awe. Like,
let me lay the groundwork for folks. She was a Harvard neuroanatomist at age 37, and she had this massive stroke that only affected her left hemisphere. So this is the part of the brain that talks, that tracks time, that counts, does all the math, and it also tends to be the locus of anxiety. So, and it's what speaks language. So anytime we're using language, we are sort of in the area of the brain that makes us anxious. Well, as her left hemisphere shut down, she experienced reality very differently. At one point, she was in the shower and she looked at her hand on the tiles, and then her left hemisphere went offline. For a while, it sort of went off and on and off and on. It was like sputtering before it went out. And when the left hemisphere would go offline, Jill would see not a hand on tiles, but two clouds of energy that were interpenetrating each other. They weren't bounded by matter. They were just energy clouds. And she herself said she felt this incredible connection with everything. And she said, I felt like a great whale swimming through a vast sea of universal beauty, something like that. It's not an exact quote, but she did compare herself to not just a whale, though, but to, she told me in conversation, something so vast that it incorporated the entire universe. And it was beautiful. And she was filled with awe. She wasn't worried at all. It was only because her left hemisphere came back on and she made a quick phone call that they even came and stopped her stroke from killing her. But she spent 8 years rebuilding the left hemisphere. And when she did, she left out anxiety.
And she changed her life, right? Her life was completely different after this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she was very competitive, very, very Harvard. That's where I was for a long time, too.
Yes.
And when I met her, she was living on a houseboat on a lake in a wilderness somewhere in America that she won't disclose.
I love it.
Because she said, and she spent her time doing science half time and then making art, because she knew that using the right hemisphere to do paintings and sculptures and stained glass windows was part of anchoring herself. And by the way, you don't have to do visual arts to do this. You can use cooking, you can use podcasting. You can use making a party or thinking of knitting a sweater for your dog, whatever. Anything you do that is creative, that is making something, is going to pull you right out of anxiety. The moment you stop using the right hemisphere, the moment you stop making things, you can pop right back in. And when you do, the left hemisphere will tell you, oh, that was nothing. Don't even pay any attention to that. That didn't even take any time, because the right hemisphere doesn't know that time is passing.
Wow.
So if you get deeply into something and you don't even realize that hours have gone by, you are using your right hemisphere almost preferentially to the left, even though with those of us who haven't had strokes, there's both of them are awake all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get deeply into creativity and lose time and go into what they call flow, that I believe is the way we're meant to feel anytime except when there is a literal physical danger right there.
Wow. And that's, I mean, once or twice in your life, if you're unlucky. I mean,
Right.
What do you think about the rarity of that versus every day, how we're
we don't
walking
even
around?
notice. I mean, I had a friend who was petrified to get on a plane because there were 2 crashes.
I
In a
remember
week or
that in the
so.
book. Yeah.
Yeah, and there were, and people focus so much on that and not on the millions and millions and millions of people who travel by air every day without getting hurt. You turn on, nature shows, and I don't know if they still have this, but they used to have Shark Week, and
Oh, they have that still. Yeah.
yeah, and things called fangs and claws, naked and afraid, and it's because negativity is very attention getting because of the 15 puppies and a cobra rule, right? But how many shark attacks are there on humans? On 8 billion human beings? Like, you are in far more danger of being eaten by your own poodles than you are of being attacked by a shark when you go into the water. Does it happen? Yeah. Does it happen often? No, it really doesn't. So yeah, you can live obsessed with the 1 shark attack a year, or you can live thinking 8 billion people didn't get attacked by sharks. Maybe that's, I can deal with that.
And also interesting, Martha, is the logical way of thinking. Of course, it's like the probabilities when you rationalize it's low, and yet the senses, how you engage it separately. It's not like, okay, let's think our way through it. It's like feeling. One part of your book that I loved, I filled it out. You speak about glimmers. Maybe you can tell us what that is. And I wrote down my 10 glimmers, and I was at the beach at the time, and I was like, the palm trees, the water,
Do you have them there?
I'm thinking, what page was this on? I should have written.
Okay, you find it. I'll tell them what a glimmer is.
Yeah, tell us what the glimmers are, please.
So, attribution to a psychologist named Deb Dana, who studies polyvagal theory. She's really a beautiful book called Anchoring or Anchored. Can't remember which, but you should look up her book. What she uses as one of the ways to calm her clients is something she calls glimmers. Most of us know that a trigger is any physical thing that we associate with danger. So if our brains are incredibly good at creating these links. So if you have a fender bender right after you see someone with a red balloon, later, if you see a red balloon, it might trigger the fear you felt or the trauma you felt in the fender bender, a small accident or a big one. And what Deb uses is the opposite of a trigger. A glimmer is a physical object that you associate with something really wonderful, and you use it to create the sense of well-being instead of using triggers to create trauma and recreate. So what?
And it's like an interrupt too. Like it's like a.
Yes.
So I wrote here. You write on page 67. It is 10 glimmers that are near me right here, right now. So here are mine. My hubby reading. So he was reading. Palm trees swaying, iced coffee, blue sky, swimming pool, chill, cool music, soft something bed. Touchy, I guess, sunbed. No meetings, no rush, warm sun, something in the shade, something nice in the shade. I know what it meant at the time. How soothing.
It is. And I can actually, in my head, I can hear a bunch of people who are in a cold climate at work right now listening to this and going, must be nice, Susie.
Yes. I live in Miami, sorry. Yeah. Yes, you're right, though. It's like snow, it's traffic, it's sirens. Yes.
Right. So if you happen to make that list of glimmers at a time when everything was really sweet.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you right now, In the room where you're sitting, it's not quite as fabulous. Your husband's not there. There's no palm trees probably. Well, there's a palm tree behind you. So there you go.
Intentional, you see, glimmers, add the glimmers. Yes.
Yes. So this is like, I have this fabulous paintbrush. It's called a mop. I didn't know that when I started painting again. It works amazingly. This thing makes me happy. Do you have one in the room with you now?
Right now, I have my Marcus Aurelius statue, which makes me happy.
Oh, nice.
Gives me some peace, some stoicism right here. I have my lip gloss that always feels nice and smells great.
Oh, yeah, that's fantastic.
Nice room temperature water, very good for you.
Oh, excellent.
Not everyone has access. I remind myself to have clean water at home. That's not true for everybody.
I know, what a miracle, right?
Yes.
And when you start thinking, oh my gosh, I have running water, and deeply appreciating that, you can go. So I have another friend, Anita Moorjani, who basically died of cancer and then came back.
She's been on the podcast too. I love her so much.
She's amazing. Like, she was riddled with cancer.
Yes.
She's in her final coma. They're keeping her alive artificially so her brother can say goodbye. And she's an 85-pound skeleton with lemon-sized tumors all over it. She dies or has a death experience. And, well, people can go look up near-death experiences because they're very similar. So she ends up in this place that feels unbelievably glorious and beautiful. And her father, who'd passed away before, came and said to her, now you know that the universe is really like this and you don't need to be afraid. You should go back and you've got things to do. And she was like, in what body? And I may be getting this slightly wrong, but he said, that'll be fine. Your body will be fine. So she went back, got into her body, woke up. In 3 days, her tumors were half the size they had been. And in 9 days, she was cancer-free. So, and she had been a tremendously anxious person.
Yes.
Anyway, she talks about how even if you're in a bad situation, there are 5 steps. And she just told this to me. I don't know if she's written them down. So I like to disseminate them so people can benefit from her wisdom. The first thing is, if you can get from misery to acceptance of wherever you are, like, all right, my back hurts today. I'm going to stop fighting that and just let it be what it is. Whatever happens, even if you're in a dark place, acceptance. Even if you're depressed and anxious, accepting that you're depressed and anxious is a way to stop that fight that keeps anxiety going. So you accept the part of you that's anxious. You accept the part of you that's miserable and afraid. And then from acceptance, you can get to peace. If you fully accept everything that's happening, you can stop fighting and be in peace. Okay. Now, from peace, you can reach appreciation. So you can say, I'm in peace. I'm looking, for example, at my reading glasses. How wonderful to live at a time when we have reading glasses. How wonderful that I'm not blind from cataracts, because they also have cataract surgery. Wow, I am really privileged. I appreciate the fact that I can see. Wow, that's pretty awesome. And then from appreciation, you can get to gratitude. I am so grateful for these reading glasses. I am so grateful for this paintbrush. I am so grateful for you, Susie. And the technology that's allowing us to talk across. Oh my God, it starts to get really big. And then gratitude becomes joy. So that's her 5 steps from misery and anxiety to continuous joy. And earlier I said I get these wisps of anxiety. And then it just immediately, I'm like, okay, come back to center, accept that you're feeling scared, relax, find peace, from peace, so acceptance to peace, to appreciation, to gratitude, to joy. And it works pretty much every time.
And I know you shared, Martha, too, your experience of having mammograms and how they used to freak you out, and how it was just, and then how you managed to go through an unpleasant, like, if we're real, right? It's not like, oh, great, tomorrow's the day. Like, ooh, yeah. It's like, it's a thing that's uncomfortable, but now you can tolerate it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that also, if you have undergone trauma, see, my fear of mammograms was largely based on being 25 and having a ton of medical tests done while I was pregnant, all of which culminated in them telling me that my unborn child had Down syndrome and I should end the pregnancy. Anyway, it's another book, Expecting
Yes.
Adam.
Yes.
I did not end the pregnancy, even though I'm very much pro-choice. And Adam is a magical being. And that's what I'll say about that. What were we talking about?
Oh my
mammograms.
God.
Okay. So anytime I had a medical test, I was afraid, I was going to show cancer and it was going to hurt. And I just totally catastrophized the whole thing. And when you're that traumatized, and a lot of people have been through things much worse than I went through, the brain develops a primitive connection between that trigger and the trauma. So instead of just imagining you're on the beach with Susie sipping a pina colada or whatever with her husband.
Yes.
Instead of that, what you have to do is be very, very accepting of the fear that this little animal in your brain has of that situation. Of course, you're scared of medical testing. That was a really hard time. But let's see what I can do to make you more comfortable. Let's see. Can we get a friend to go with us? All right, we'll get a friend. Can we tell the doctor we have this special, or the nurse who does the exam? I have a lot of trauma around medical testing. And then they're very kind. And you go through the same experience, but the healing of trauma happens when you recreate the circumstances and give it a different ending. So the more I softened the experience of medical testing for myself by bringing friends, by telling people what was going on, by wearing fuzzy onesies, but whatever it takes, right? Giving myself a big reward for being brave enough to do it like you would with a 2-year-old. It gradually lost the association with trauma. And now I don't faint during mammograms. I just thump my feet a lot.
But you survive.
And then it's over.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Martha, when you spoke about Anita recently, one thing that she said during our interview, which kind of ties into something else I wanted to speak to you about today, was when she completely changed her life. She went from being a pleaser in a more traditional role to radically changing it and living in her integrity, right? As you would say. She said that eventually people came around and started, people who knew her in her former life, saying, "My life sucks." how do you like, you've got this gorgeous life, like she's traveling, she's speaking, she's making this gorgeous impact. And what was it? One thing that I loved in the book, I sent it to my friend who doesn't love his job. When you speak about curiosity, creativity, and being in alignment with yourself, how that makes such a difference. I was like, it never even occurred to me that to be in a line, and I don't mean like throw caution to the wind and give everything up today and but we limit ourselves, right? We go, well, that's not possible. Actually, on a coaching call I did recently, someone said, "Can't be authentic, I'll be broke." And I'm like,
this is the world we live in. This is why more than half the human population is experiencing chronic anxiety, which is just, it's not normal to be anxious. It's not innately the way we're meant to feel, but so many people feel that way because we've created a social system and a physical environment that goes right back to what I said at the beginning. It goes against what we evolved to experience. And how are we kept in these? So we live in this very materialistic culture that is obsessed with productivity and wealth. And because of that, the Industrial Revolution was when this really kicked in, and they found we could create tremendous amounts of material wealth if we could just get people to sit in factories and be like cogs in the machine and have no feelings and just keep replicating physical actions. So Henry Ford's early car factories were like this. Now, it makes tremendous amounts of money, but the turnover in Henry Ford's factories was 90% per month. 90% of the people he hired quit within a month through his whole career. He had to hire 54,000 people a year to fill up a 14,000 person factory. But that's the way we want to do it. We take all our kids, we put them in rows. We tell them to learn things that don't matter to them, to get rewards and punishments, or avoid punishment and get reward. Even though we know that children learn best in a mix of people moving around in an outside environment, solving problems that are applicable to them at the moment. That's how that's how children should be educated. But our education system is training us to be factory cogs. And that is profoundly unnatural. And it makes us anxious, because I believe there's a part of us that knows what our lives are meant to be. And that part is always like poking us. If we're in a job we hate, in a relationship that's not working, whatever, it'll be like, no, fix this. Don't do this. Do something different. And it agitates. And the agitation feels like anxiety. So, but we're hypnotized by the society into thinking it's normal to be in this type of a life, and it's normal to feel anxious about it. That's just how you have to live. Get used to it. One of the people I quoted in the book is Jeff Bezos, one of the richest men in the world. He runs Amazon, and he tells his shareholders, and puts it in the corporate reports every year, that he tells every Amazon employee to wake up every morning terrified and to stay terrified all day, because that's how you beat the competition. Now, most Amazon employees are just barely getting by. So what he's saying is, get up and be afraid every day of your life, your one wild and precious life, spend every day afraid, so that I, a person with hundreds of billions of dollars, can have more. That's crazy talk. The whole system is crazy. And yet the poor Amazon employee is like, I'm terrified. I couldn't live without this terrifying job.
It's fascinating.
So little by little, start moving toward things that feel better.
Yes, and that's also what I learned from The Way of Integrity, the 1 degree shifts, the slight changes.
1 degree shift.
The powerful nature of that. But I think it's so easy for us to give up before we begin. Plus, I think that FOMO, or even just social media addiction, makes this worse, because we see people who get all this praise and credit. Oh, I did this. I got a promotion. That's what we praise. If I was like, guys, I'm going to the woods for a couple of weeks to just,
Yeah.
connect. Cool. Like, that wouldn't get any, no one would be pumping their fit.
Go online and say, I feel good, and accept most people. Like, that is not headline news.
No.
Yeah. Not only does the internet magnify our social bias, but it actually, because it rewards things that get the most attention, and the cobra is going to get more attention than the puppies. The algorithms are calculated to feed us more of whatever we pay attention to. And if we pay more attention to things that frighten us or upset us or make us competitive or make us feel bad or make us aspire to have more stuff, it feeds the algorithm. And then the algorithm in turn shapes the wiring of the brain to be more focused on the negative. So when they put like little artificial intelligences out there and just say, go and be happy, and let's see what the internet does to the personality of this little artificial intelligence. They tried this, and within 16 hours, they had to shut it down because the little artificial intelligence was starting to support genocide, racism, hatred of all kinds. Our society is focused on things that are very dark and very dangerous. And if you hate your job or your life and you're staying in it thinking, but I've got to do this because it's normal, don't listen. Normal for you is what gets you out of anxiety and into creativity. And when you go to creativity, you can make a life. The last third of the book is about how you can remake your world. Starting just with your little self and then rippling out from you. You can create anything from that place of joy and infinite resourcefulness that is the human imagination when it's not frightened.
Do you ever think because this came up yesterday too in our community, that sometimes choosing yourself and choosing what's real and right for you, you just, you feel it in your body. Do you think that
Yes.
there's sometimes ever a bit of a loneliness with it because it's not what everyone else is thinking and doing? Like, you're not going to get a high five. No one's going to freak out with joy. They'll freak out with your new car, right? Or what? You're going to Saint-Tropez or whatever. But it's like, I'm really connecting with myself and I'm loving my long walks right now. Do you ever
You know what, though?
Yeah.
There are all these little tiny worlds online. And we are aware of the world that we've wandered into and the algorithm has taken us into. It sounds like your algorithm takes you into, I am wildly successful, admire me. But like I have an online community called Wilder, because the whole idea is be less like the society and be more like the wild self. So my partner Ro and I made this community, and the people there go in and they say, look, I found a hummingbird nest on my walk this morning. And everyone goes nuts. Like, there are a few hundred people in there. We get to choose. This is what I mean about creating any world we want. Find out what really, really brings you to joy, and then find a place online or create. Ro and I said, we need to create a community online that goes nuts when we have a great cup of tea.
Yes.
Or we read a snippet of poetry that just makes our whole body resonate. And so we go seeking, folks, go seeking places online and in the real world where you can have a community that rejoices in things that are not anxiety producing and that are not abnormal, artificial.
Yes.
You'll find it, Susie. You'll find people who would just be like, you were reading a book on the beach and your husband was there in the Republic. Damn! That is a day.
And isn't it fascinating too, Martha? Because our ego, I think, will have us believe the community you're in, the church you're in, the school system you're in, like the industry you're in and your peers, that's it. Like, that's it. Like, don't ruffle any feathers. Like, oof.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So people go down internet rabbit holes and believe conspiracy theories, and they really think the whole world is different. We are so limited in our ability to imagine, especially when we're trapped in anxiety.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the ways out of anxiety is to imagine what would make you joyful, imagine what would make you peaceful. And I mean, simple things like you did the exercise at the beginning. If you start actually seeking those things in real life and pay conscious attention to bringing more of it into your life, you'll also choose it online, and you'll end up in a place where your particular form of resonance connects with other people. And this is something I didn't say in either book. Actually, the next book I'm going to write has to do with community, because my response in life has been move away from things that don't work for me, and keep away from that. That's in my integrity, and also keep away from it. Find a place of peace and joy and not anxiety by yourself. But I've realized that when you walk out of the trap of anxiety and become creative, one of the things your brain does, and my brain did it, after a few months of just painting and drawing and calling that creativity, it began to connect with other people and to want to create a village, a community, a society where people are genuinely thrilled that you found a hummingbird nest on your walk. And that's why I made the community. And so the next book is about that. And I want to say to readers of Beyond Anxiety, it really, really works. And it's going to take you to your people.
Martha Beck. Oh my God. Oh, wow. I have so many, I could keep you forever. Truly. I mean, I know you've got to run.
No, I don't actually. I wanted to say, and you don't have to put this, I hope you edit this.
I mean, I do edit, but I also just love the flow of convo.
I feel like, I don't know, there's part of me that just goes, hang in here for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
There are people who
Okay.
need to hear more. I don't know. I mean, I do everything by instinct.
Good.
And it's like, let's give this till the quarter hour or something.
Yes. Okay. I mean, yes, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So if someone right now, I think that we bond over anxieties too, don't we, Martha? We're like,
yeah.
well, that my kid's doing better. That sucks. That politicians. I mean, it's almost like this. This is why we need your next book on community. Do you feel as if when it comes to making these changes, becoming aware, reading a book like Beyond Anxiety, which is so epic, do you think that these shifts we feel are instantaneous, or do you think it's a journey? I mean, are you still on a journey? Or are you like, I'm anxiety free, I'm good, I'm like, oh, I've recovered?
I think it was Jonathan Singer who wrote, if you're wondering whether you've completed your mission in life, here's a good test. If you're alive, you're not finished.
Yes.
So I actually, the way I see the world, the way it appears to me after years of meditation and thought, is that that the primary living thing or the primary constituent of the universe is consciousness. And that we happen to be consciousness in a particular kind of form, and that form disappears, but consciousness does not. This is just how I feel after 30 years of studying this and one near-death experience. So I have once again forgotten the question, Susie.
Like, is it immediate? Is it immediate? Are we like, okay, that's it. I'm free. Wow, and they're having anxious thoughts again.
It isn't. I remember when I realized that creativity was a toggle switch that shut down anxiety. I was sitting in my bedroom, and when the perfect symmetry of that occurred to me, I just raised both my fists as high as I could above my head, like, oh my God, I think I figured it out. I think I've got it. I think I've got it. And I started right then thinking, okay, let me do something creative. I always drew as a kid, but I hadn't been doing a lot of drawing as an adult. And so I said, okay, I'm going to draw. I know that requires, I used to help teach a course at Harvard in the art department, and we used the book Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, which I highly recommend. And we did it to make people better artists, but it also made people calm and happy. And I remembered that. So I started drawing. And immediately I started having periods with no anxiety whatsoever. So I spent a month just working on the right side of my brain, getting up every morning and doing creative things, mostly drawing and painting. But remember, you don't have to draw and paint. A lot of people who've been shamed for not drawing or painting well enough it's a trigger. It's a trigger. Same with music, same with everything. But the moment anxiety came up, I could go from acceptance to now I'm going to do something creative. Oh my gosh, now it's 5 hours later and I have had no anxiety. And so is it over instantly? Yes. The instant you realize what's going on, you can close it down. And it will come up again. You still have the same brain with the same tendencies, and you live in the same culture that's spinning you into anxiety. But when you're aware of it, you can then shut it down again. So I don't love the way American politics is going. And I've experienced a lot of grief and a certain amount of anger about it. But weirdly enough, through the whole thing, where I'm really genuinely thinking we could see a collapse of democracy in the world, in the Western world. We could see the end of American democracy, which is very dear to my heart. There's no anxiety. There just isn't. I can feel sad. I can feel angry, but I don't get scared unless there's something in the room.
And you allude to this, or you outline in the book too, how when we even see a problem, it's not like our anxiety is helping solve the problem, but a calm brain actually connects us to these creative, like these reserves, where we can actually go, okay, so what could my contribution be? Or is it a donation? Right. Do I join a group? Could you speak to that for a moment? Because I think that people are so certain that feeling anxious is the driver of ideas and resolutions and solving conflict, ironically.
Yeah. It's that guy stomping out of the room going, I need my anxiety. I would fail without it. And we all knew he would do better without it.
We can see it in other people almost, right?
Exactly.
But, yeah.
And it is a really common cultural belief. So nobody says, that's ridiculous. Why would you say that? One way I put it is, okay, if you fell out of a window and you broke several bones and banged up your internal organs and you needed acutely, you needed surgery. So you have a serious problem, undeniable. Would you want the surgeons working on you to be in a state of panic? Or would you like it better if they were in a state of calm creativity? Because no two injuries are ever alike. And they're always alert to what can I do with this particular damaged body? It's a form of creativity. All great science is a form of creativity. So would you like genius creative surgeons working on you or surgeons in a state of panic? And the argument is, well, if they weren't anxious, they would never operate on anyone, which is a big fat lie. They do it. The vast majority of physicians do it to help people, do it out of kindness, out of the goodness of their hearts, not because they're terrified. Now, there are a lot of people who try to get into medical school and because they're terrified of their parents or they're desperate to look good. And those people have bad experiences as doctors. I've had many as clients. Doctors were one of the main subcategories of people who came looking for life coaching for years when I started out. But back to the bottom line, which is, are they operating out of panic and anxiety, or are they doing it out of calm, creative, connected, compassionate curiosity, which is what arises in us when anxiety is gone? It's far more of a powerful driver of action than anxiety ever could be.
And Martha, to relate this to you, I saw your 2 Today Show clips, loved them, right?
Thank
so
you.
with I know it was Hoda and Jenna, but prior to that, I think it was Savannah and Hoda.
Yeah.
But are you nervous? Or anxious? Are you, if you're like, okay, national TV, millions of people, are you like, this is good, I'll just like button up my top and walk straight out, I don't care? Or are you like alert? What's your vibe?
I was happy.
Happy.
I was just happy. I was happy I wore yellow socks because I felt happy that day. And I love Hoda, and I hadn't met the other 2, but they were wonderful. And yeah, I mean, I used to have really bad performance anxiety, and I just don't anymore. I'm telling you.
Wow.
I'm telling you, this actually worked for me.
Wow.
So to have the opportunity to get up and say to people, to millions of people who I know are mainly anxious, try this. It really freaking works. It filled me with gratitude, filled me with joy. And I just don't go to the places that get anxious anymore.
Wow. Because that's really also like laying aside the ego. How am I going to perform? How's this going to, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I've got something to say that's useful. And I'd like people to know about that.
But it was actually, the thing is, it's so weird. My whole brain is different. And it's much more like the brain of a dog.
Yeah, curious.
I feel like a dog. I'm like, Hoda caught me. I love you. Hi, I love you. It's like dogs are like that, right? Hi, I love you. I was hiding under the house because I love you. Like, oh, I love you. That's kind of how my brain works these days.
It's like you're blissed out. It's like you're in a state of appreciation.
It's more kind of bouncy than that. It's not so much bliss as hello, like enthusiasm. I would call it enthusiasm. That I am mainly filled with enthusiasm.
And that's like being with spirit, right? That's the root word of enthusiasm,
right?
Isn't it?
Exactly.
Like to be the real you.
Yeah, the God, the divine part of the self, the God or goddess within.
Oh.
And it's weird. It's really
wonderful
weird to go 60 years being anxious virtually all the time. And then 2 years being anxious virtually none of the time, even though bad things happen. It's been a strange and wonderful and beautiful gift.
Wow. And you're sharing it with us? Oh
I
my
want everyone,
gosh.
I cannot imagine, though I love trying to imagine
Mhm.
what the world would be like
Mm.
if half the people, all the people who are anxious right now, like clinically anxious, if all of them went to this place of enthusiasm and delight.
Mm.
I feel delighted.
Well, you can imagine a lack of conflict that would occur because we're not lashing out. Like, oh, the fear, the anxiety trigger comes. How can I cut you down so I feel a little bit more safe?
Yeah,
For just
that's one of the biggest things. When somebody comes at me in anger or something, I don't feel anxious about it. And I'm like, tell me, I'm listening. Because I know that behind every angry face is a terrified little animal. So if I scream back at them, what's that going to do? That's not going to do any good. But if I just see the frightened animal there, as long as I'm physically safe, I don't have to get anxious about it.
What's your intention for this book? When you're going out into the world, I know it's already a best-selling book. Everyone's talking about it, beyond anxiety. I mean, what a gift. Truly, Martha, thank you for being you.
Thank you, Susie.
As this goes out and more people read it, because I've got a feeling, this, in my experience, really great books, of course, they have their initial surge and yours has, but I feel like they're just perennial. Like they are like on the shelves. They're like, you need this book. You need this book. Like I've recommended it to my book club to the lady in London. What do you want people to, when they get this in their hands, or they listen to you? And you're also so funny, Mark. Can I just say, too, I think to intersperse humor, I'm not sure if it's intentional or I think it's just you, but this heavy topic, it's like, you end up laughing and you're like, what? I should be stressed out reading about this because this is serious. Like they infuse all this this levity. What's your intention?
Oh, I love the levity, and I want everyone to laugh more. That's one thing. Toddlers laugh 400 times a day. Adults laugh about 15 times a day. I would love a world where the adults were laughing as much as the toddlers. Now that you speak of it, but what I really, really want, no one's ever asked me that question, and I'd never thought about it before. I want people to find each other. I want everyone who needs to be free from anxiety or who has found a way. I hope it's like a breadcrumb that gets people to start connecting in real ways. Like you said, your book club. So it could be an online book club or it could be your neighborhood or whatever. But we desperately need to resuscitate the normalcy of the village, of the people who are together, calming each other, creating things together. That right there is this powerful bond. I was reading about how they did experiments trying to recreate the relative lack of racism there was in the American armed services after they started integrating it. And they found that if you just get communities together to have meetings, it doesn't work as well because people who are doing military exercises need each other to achieve tasks, to achieve objectives. And that connection starts to override all our fears and our hatreds. And it just teaches us all how human and how safe we can be with other humans. And that's something that I'm learning, again, at the tender young age of 62, that I didn't know would happen to me when I did this anti-anxiety program. I didn't realize it would throw me back into the pool of human beings and say, now connect. But I hope everyone who's anxious now finds loving, excited, enthusiastic, peaceful, wonderful human beings to connect with. That, I think, will change the world.
Oh, Martha Beck. And also tell us about your community. Tell us about, I'm not sure if it's always open or if you open the doors.
You can go in. It's like $1 a day. You can join for a month and see it. If you don't like it, you can get out again. We didn't want to trap anyone, but what it is, we didn't know what it was at first. It was just a bunch of people who sort of think the same thoughts. But almost immediately, Susie, immediately after we started it without any intention, it became a sort of artists colony. Because, and it doesn't mean that everybody's making great art. People started fooling around with stuff the way we do when we're little kids. So there were, in the book, I mentioned these two groups who were studied by NASA, the space agency. They were looking for creative geniuses. And when they tested adults, they found 2% were creative geniuses. Then they tested 4 and 5-year-olds, and 98% of them were creative geniuses. What happened in that community where nobody felt like they were going to be judged, we would just start hanging out. We started doing something we call the Arty Friday hang. Bring your knitting is our motto. And it was just people bringing something so we could be online with each other, kind of chatting about a topic the group chooses while we make stuff. And everybody's like holding up the stuff they're making. And it went from artists community to a kind of philosophical forum. And I felt like I was in ancient Athens with people having really interesting conversations about what society should be like, but not in a yucky, schooly way, right?
Yeah.
Like people who just wanted to celebrate their hummingbird nest. And it would turn into, oh, that's how we could fix part of the world. So it went random group getting away from misery, artist colony, philosophical group, healers of our little part of the world. And I do believe we are designed so that when we're free from anxiety, that is where our destiny takes us, in the community, into creation, into the healing of the world.
And it feels so expansive, like it feels so delicious, like even just hearing you talk about it. So Martha, where does everyone go to? I mean, Beyond Anxiety, a must read, my friends. Look, there are no excuses. We have to be responsible for how we feel. And if you're anxious, there are solutions. Martha spent her life, like this is, I mean, you have many pieces of work, a big body of work, but Martha spent her life creating something like this that we can just pick up and read over the course of a week or so, depending on how fast you read. There are no excuses for not feeling better. And it's our obligation to take care of ourselves. So Beyond Anxiety, a must read. Where else do we find out all things Martha? I know you've got quite a few cool things always brewing.
Online, it's marthabeck.com. And if you want to go to the community, I think you can link from the marthabeck.com website, but you can also just put in wildercommunity.com and it'll take you right to it. We would love to see you. We have so much fun. We do meditations together. It just is, it's an incredible group of individuals. I am falling in love with the world, Susie. I mean, look at you. Look at you. I mean, my day was already perfect. And then you came in? Like, holy crap. How good can things get?
I feel that way too. I feel so lucky. Martha Beck, thank you. I hope you'll come back. I can't wait for the next book and the next, and then may you live forever.
You too. And try and stop me. I will be back.
Thank you so much, Martha Beck. Beyond Anxiety, a must read, my friends. And until tomorrow, so much love and ease.